What's up, Taiwan? Good evening. I'm Erika Liu with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. A court has convicted 3 serving Taiwanese lawmakers for taking bribes worth up to $860,000. Wednesday's ruling involved legislators from across the political spectrum. It's Taiwan's biggest corruption scandal in years. Stash Butler has the report.
被告苏正清、廖国栋及陈超敏3位都是犯贪污治罪条例的不违背职务收受贿赂罪。
A Taipei court gives its damning verdict. 3 serving politicians took bribes from businessman Li Henglong. He wanted them to change a national corporate law that would allow him to take over Sogo, a department store chain. And he was willing to pay for their help. Aside from the 3 serving lawmakers, a 4th person was also convicted of corruption, a former politician who's since retired from public office. They're affiliated to 3 of Taiwan's major parties. The bribes ranged from just over $30,000 all the way up to $860,000. The politicians have been sentenced to spend upwards of 7 years in prison. Su Zhenqing, a former member of the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, will stay there the longest, for 10 years. They all have the right to appeal. In a separate case, a 5th lawmaker was found guilty of tax evasion. That's after police found $310,000 of unexplained cash at his house. Zhao Zhengyu will spend 6 months in prison unless he pays a fine. The court's ruling brings a 2-year anti-corruption investigation to an end, but the stain it leaves on Taiwanese politics may last far longer. Klein Wang and Stash Butler for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Air Force has debuted the latest aircraft in its fleet. The AT-5 jet trainer is the country's first domestically made jet in over 3 decades, built and designed with a budget of more than $2 billion. James Chater has the more.
This is the AT-5 Brave Eagle, the latest addition to Taiwan's Air Force. The domestically produced jet will be used to train military pilots. It's been in development since 2017 and was first tested in 2020.
那可以满足一些空对空跟空对面的一些训练。那另外的话，在刹车就是在落地的距离部分的话，其实它有很多一些辅助的装置，那可以让我们就是起降距离可以这个明显的有一点缩短。
Taiwan's Aerospace Industrial Development Corporation plans to make 66 in total. They'll replace aging models of Taiwan's trainer jet fleet. It's the first jet to be made in Taiwan since the Jingguo indigenous defense fighter more than 3 decades ago.
在操作过程中的话，因为它这个数位飞超部分的话，在操作过程中，其实在可以比拟之前在飞 IDF 的时候一些的性能的需求。
In January, the government earmarked an additional $8 billion for defense spending. That's on top of a record annual budget of $17 billion for 2022. These modernization plans come amid several crashes involving Taiwanese military aircraft this year.
Taiwan has been enhancing its air defense and anti-ship capabilities. And this is meant to keep its airspace contested during a possible conflict. And by controlling or at least keeping its airspace contested, it can properly protect its assets on the land.
Tensions across the Taiwan Strait are at their worst in decades. China, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory, has sent more than 450 aircraft into Taiwan's air defense identification zone this year. Should there be a conflict, the pilots being trained on these Brave Eagle jets may find themselves on the front line. Klein Wang and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's military is wrapping up 3 days of exercises in the southern county of Pingdong. The drills, dubbed Mighty Eagle, saw a variety of attack helicopters practice shooting at targets on land and sea. The Army and Special Forces also launched U.S.-made Hellfire missiles, simulating a nighttime assault. K-pop supergroup BTS's shock announcement that it's taking a break has reignited debate around compulsory military service in South Korea. Here in Taiwan, military officials have been having a similar discussion. Bing Wang reports.
Was it honestly the best? They're the biggest boy band in the world. South Korean pop group BTS is a global phenomenon that has transcended cultural barriers. But last month, they broke the hearts of millions of fans by announcing a hiatus.
So yung naramdaman ko po na syempre nakakaiyak, parang malulungkot ka, it's been 9 years mawawala sila.
BTS has said they want to take a break to recharge, but according to a South Korean politician, the group is going on hiatus because one of their members has been conscripted into the army. It's reigniting a debate on military conscription in South Korea on whether to shorten service times from 2 years to 3 months. Taiwan is also debating conscription periods, except it's around extending the length of service. Right now, all men between 18 and 36 must serve for 4 months.
Beijing is much more unfriendly to Taipei, and China is conducting a more aggressive military action against Taiwan.
China has maintained that Taiwan is part of its own territory and has not ruled out taking the island by force. An independent poll conducted by the Taiwan Public Opinion Foundation found that 76% of the population believe that mandatory military service times should be extended. They believe that it is paramount to the country's combat readiness in case of an attack. Across Asia, 5 countries have mandatory conscription service. Taiwan has the shortest time at 4 months. But some analysts feel the country has to focus not just on the length of the training, but also the quality of its content.
I think the main concern is to reconsider what kind of manpower we need in the military and what kind of warfare we might face or we might conduct in the military conflict in the Taiwan Strait.
The military pressure by neighboring China is at the heart of this debate. Taiwan's defense ministry has set up a task force to consider its options and will reevaluate how young Taiwanese men spend their time in military training. Bill Kong and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's stock market and currency are under strain from higher global interest rates and inflation. The TAIEX, the index which tracks companies listed on Taipei Stock Exchange, has fallen from an all-time high of over 18,000 in January to below 14,400 in early July. That's a drop of over 20%. More than $34 billion flowed out of Taiwan's stocks in the first half of this year, and Taiwan's currency is weakening too. $1 was worth about 27.5 Taiwan dollars in January, but it's now nearly 30 Taiwan dollars. Peter Kurz is Chief Strategy Officer at the Taipei-based investor advisory firm QIC. He gives us his predictions for the coming months.
But I would guess that by the end of the year, we'll be finding a bottom in equities. That said, I don't think we'll be finding a bottom in the economy, and yet we know that equity markets anticipate economic conditions. And we also know that we don't know we're in a recession until long after we are in a recession, because we don't get the GDP data until several months later. And so I suspect that we'll be seeing markets bottom, but start getting some more negative economic data coming out by fourth quarter this year and first quarter next year.
Taiwan's Little League baseball team has come out on top in a regional championship, beating out host South Korea. The team, competing under the name Chinese Taipei, arrived back in Taiwan on Tuesday. The team is made up of students from Fuling Elementary School. The young athletes returned home with a championship pennant and were thrilled to see their families for the first time in nearly 2 months. The team will represent Asia at the Little League World Series in the U.S. next month. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we leave you with images of London Zoo's lioness Aria showing off her soccer skills as England prepares to host the Women's European Championship. I'm Erika Liu. Take care and see you next time.